And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday, March 5th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcspodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcspodcast.net, and it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment. Whoop, and I just dropped my mic down below. I keep knocking over my mic for some reason lately. But anyway, so we do have a lot to talk about on the show today. So we're going to talk about Jason Kelce and him officially announcing his retirement. He held a press conference yesterday. So we'll talk about that and what the future holds for the Eagles. Now with him leaving a big shoes to fill at the center position. So we'll get into that. Then, so we got a few things that we're going to get into. We'll also talk about Russell Wilson being released by the Broncos. So that was official. I mean, I knew that was. I mean, well, we all knew that was eventually going to happen. But that was made official yesterday. The Broncos are going to take a huge cap hit. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is confident that a new deal is going to get done between him and the Cowboys. Obviously, there's talk out there that he wants to reset the quarterback market by making $60 million a year, which for a lot of us don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what he wants. And we'll see if the Cowboys, give him that contract. And then we'll talk about the Chiefs franchise tagging L'Jarius Sneed and what's next there, because they did give him permission to seek a trade. So we'll also get into that as well. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about Jason Kelce and him announcing his retirement. So he's retiring after 13 seasons. He was actually I didn't realize this. He was a 6th-round pick in 2011. And he really just developed into, one of the better centers in the league over the course of time. 6-time All-Pro selection, 7-time Pro Bowler. He started in 156 consecutive regular season games and played in 193 regular season games. He started in all 12 postseason games with the Eagles, and he was never really hurt. I looked back into his injury history, and the only year that he was really hurt, I think it was 2012, I believe. He only played in, I believe, 2 games. He tore his ACL, so he missed the rest of the regular season. But other than that, I mean, he pretty much played every game. I had the chart on the games. So yeah, so you go back to, it was 2012. That was when he tore his ACL. But yeah, his rookie season, 16 games he played in. 2013, 16, 2014 he missed some time. I think that was the core muscle injury, so he missed 4 games there. 16 games, 16 games. Then obviously, the extra game added to the regular season. From 2021 to 2023, he played in all 17 regular season games. So yeah, he was a guy that really never missed time. But, and this is something that I saw on social media with a lot of people, in the comments, because they did post, short snippets of the press conferences. He still wanted to play, but his body just could not handle it anymore. And yeah, I mean, you're playing center. It's constant collisions at the line of scrimmage, and it just eventually is going to wear down on you. And, that's definitely one of the reasons why he decided to retire. But yeah, very emotional at the press conference. I was tuning in for it because, I just wanted to see what, he had to say. And it was one of the better retirement speeches you'll ever hear. It went on for a while, went on for about, I think it was about 40 minutes. But yeah, I mean, very emotional. There were plenty of parts where he just could not he had to stop for a moment, and he just was breaking down. And listen, as a Giant fan, it's still tough to see. Because again, this is another player that's been in the league since really I started watching. And now again, it's with a rival team, but still, I mean, the podcast that they do together, him and Travis, I like their podcast a lot. And he's a guy that likes to have fun. I mean, you see all the videos. I mean, the playoff game against the Bills, him, jumping out of the suite. He's a guy that likes to have fun, and it's unfortunate that he has to be for a rival. He plays for a rival team or played for a rival team, but there were a couple things I wanted to. So I have the transcript of his speech. I wanted to kind of jump through some of it, some of the stuff he had to say. I mean, there was a ton of people he was thanking. I mean, he talked about the Philly special. He also talked. I mean, he brought up like everybody. He brought up all of his, past coaches, everybody. Even Chip Kelly. I mean, he said about Chip Kelly. I won't forget Chip Kelly's first game as Eagles head coach against the Washington, then Redskins. We ran close to 50 plays in the first half. We were so tired, but it didn't matter because they couldn't stop us. The NFL have never seen something like this before. I remember all of us thinking about that game. This is going to change the NFL. He talked about the snow game against the Lions. LaShawn McCoy was running wild against the Lions in that game. He said that was probably the best game he's ever played in. He did also bring up Carson Wentz tearing his ACL. And how Malcolm Jenkins, he addressed the team because, again, Carson Wentz was having an MVP-type season, and the Eagles were like, now what? But Nick Foles stepped in. They won the last couple of games in the regular season. They made the playoffs, and we know the rest of the story. And he said, I won't forget Nick Foles having the game of his life on the biggest stage possible. And the biggest expletive on the team going up to Doug Peterson, asking for the Philly special, and Doug Peterson having the biggest blank in the stadium to say, yeah, let's do it. And Brandon Graham finding a way to stop Tom Brady once, literally once, and the way that ball hung up in the air on the last Hail Mary and how it felt like an eternity. Yeah, because, I mean, if you remember, Tom Brady threw for 500 yards in the Super Bowl, and the Eagles defense just could not stop him. And they got that stop on him, the fumble. And the Eagles, they kicked a field goal to put themselves up by 8. Then the Patriots had the ball back. Brady threw a Hail Mary. And obviously it was incomplete. And that was how the Super Bowl ended. And then, of course, Jason Kelce has his famous speech at the Super Bowl parade. I mean, he was all dressed up. I think he said it wasn't... that wasn't my speech, he said. It was Philadelphia's. And then he also talked about... Donna Kelce, at Super Bowl week last year, or leading up to the Super Bowl, I mean, she was just all over the place, and they were all, both him and Travis were, really happy about that. She was getting the recognition that she deserved. But he did say that, he did tweet out something that said there's going to be, he said there's going to be no kegs this year. He tweeted that. He said, and that he's going to make an announcement. Well, at that point, it was yesterday. Because Nick Sirianni was sending him kegs of beer to convince him to keep playing these last few years. But this was the year that he just was like, this is it for me. He said, but Jason said, he knows the key to my heart. I won't forget making the playoffs in his first season, the Super Bowl in his next. And then I was surprised. I was kind of surprised how he worded it. But he was like, and the immense heartbreak at the collapse of this last season. But again, I mean, that's part of it. But I don't know. I just felt like, but again, this is his retirement speech. But I just thought it was interesting that he even included the collapse from 2023. He said, everything happens for a reason, and I've truly enjoyed my time with you, Coach. Sometimes the flowers get knocked back a bit, but the roots remain. And I can't wait to watch her reblossom this next season. And then he also talked about, losing to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but, being proud of Travis Kelce, for winning that ring. But yeah, it was again, one of the better retirement speeches you'll probably ever hear. I did watch a good chunk of it, And yeah, I mean, it was just tough. He couldn't get through a lot of parts. He talked about meeting his wife and getting emotional about that, to bringing up his family. It just, you know, um, talking about all the people that helped him along the way. And yeah, but now the Eagles, well, first of all, I wish him the best of luck in retirement. I know when I was listening to the radio yesterday, he's going to be a free agent when it comes to broadcasting if he wants to go that route. And listen, he does a great job on the podcast with Travis Kelce. So, we'll see if he ends up getting a job at one of these media conglomerates. But yeah, I wish him nothing but the best. And listen, as a Giant fan, not gonna miss him. But I think as a football fan in general, you're gonna miss him. Just again because it's another great player that's retiring. And yeah, so now with the Eagles though, it's a big shoes to fill. Definitely big shoes to fill there. Now, who's looked at to be the replacement of Jason Kelce is Cam Jurgens. He was drafted in the second round of the 2022 draft, and I believe he was out. It was out of Nebraska. Let me just gotta make sure fact check myself here just to make sure. Yeah, so he was a second round pick out of Nebraska. He was playing, I think he was playing guard. During the season, but now his natural position is center. So he's gonna take over for Jason Kelce. And they still got Lane Johnson there, of course. That's another longtime Eagle that's still there. I know the Eagles also did bring back Brandon Graham, so they still have guys that have been there for a while. Some of them are still coming back. I don't know if this is real because you never know nowadays, but Fletcher Cox possibly could be retiring. I did see that, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But yeah, so Jurgens spent 2022 learning from Kelce and played right guard in 2023, but is set to take over at center in 2024. And it's going to be different now because when they run the tush push next year, you're not going to have Jason Kelce. So we'll see how that's all impacted now with him not being there. And also, Jalen Hurts and Brandon Graham are expected to step up in leadership roles, with Hurts likely becoming the face of the franchise. Yeah, again, another thing with the big shoes to fill. He was a leader in the locker room, and now you're losing that. And the Eagles did collapse, and he was a part of that, but now he's not there anymore. So yeah, people are gonna have to step up in that aspect too, being leaders in the locker room. And the Eagles are facing some adversity after how they finished the season. So, we'll see, how these guys respond to stepping up into that leadership role. But big shoes to fill both on the football field and off the football field. Now with Jason Kelce stepping away and retiring. So, yeah, but let me know what you guys think about Jason Kelce, his retirement speech, anything, let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's it's a void that's going to be really tough to fill up for the Eagles. So we'll see how they respond. But with that being said, we are going to take our first break of the show. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the Broncos officially releasing Russell Wilson. What the future holds for him, what the future holds, for the Broncos, because they actually only have, I think, Ben DiNucci, which I didn't even know he was on the team, and then Jared Stidham. Those are the only quarterbacks on the roster. So the Broncos, they got some work to do there, and again, we'll talk about them and Russell Wilson, what his future is when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.